Greetings, listeners. This is Proud Burgundy coming at you live from California to the Zencast servers, to your ISP, to your modem, to your router, to your internet connection. This is DotPro show coming at you to give you all of the latest in Dota professional team news and insights and things of that nature. With me is my co-anchor Cyphus.
Ew.
Hi.
Hi.
And we're gonna. So first we're going to go through three main points. We're going to talk about the new rosters, the administrative news, all that top level information that you may not be privy to, but that will shape the scene of professional Dota 2. And then we're going to talk about like making a new Dota team and like what we can like expect in the coming months from these new rosters, and kind of try to figure out what exactly are the key elements that are going to define their performance in the coming months, coming tournaments, all that business. Does that sound good, Cyphus? Is that okay?
That sounds amazing to me. I'm so excited.
Okay. Great. All right, so new teams. First off, I think the maybe the most high profile, or at least if you were following Dota 3 years ago, what would be the most high profile news is the new Na'Vi roster, right?
Yeah, I love Na'Vi. They have Dendi.
Yeah, dude.
All
right, so
that's all I know.
Okay.
They have Dendi.
So Na'Vi, most storied team in all of Dota 2, winning the first international. You know, Dendi being topic of free to play and all that shit. So any time they can get anywhere close to relevance again, it's going to be good. I mean, Na'Vi hasn't had the worst performance in the past. Like right before TI6, they won a tournament actually. And if you are a long-time listener, you would know I'd say that's absolutely the worst thing that could have happened to them, because they could have just flown under the radar and been like a surprise winner, like they were in the tournament that they won. But instead, they were just a team that actually got researched, and then they got found out and killed. Whereas a team like DC, who pretty much no one researched, managed to get to the finals. So they did okay, but their international performance was pretty disappointing. And they've had players on their team who just like a number of issues between personality conflicts and just experience, like art style. Definitely not one of the strongest players. Seneko, one of the strongest players, but you know, they haven't had a captain in forever. And really art style was only kept along because he was actually a player that could captain Dendi and captain their team and not immediately implode. So they had a number of issues. Seneko apparently was very difficult to play with for a number of reasons. Dityara, very similar issue. And put the two on the same team together, and it was just kind of destined to fall apart. So they finally come to a culmination of events, say, okay, we're just going to drop this roster for the most part and go on. They liked the performance from General. General is doing really well, so now the team is building around both Dendi and General, and they brought in three. I think Biver maybe speaks Russian, but for the most part, this is not going to be a Russian-speaking team anymore. They brought on Pycat as a position 1 as their captain, which is unique. Having a position 1 captain is something that really only Envy has ever really done with much success. If you look at Alliance, Loda is called their captain, but it's more of just a face of the team captain, not an actual shot caller. But Pycat is known for being a captain. And I want to say 2 years ago around TI5 when he was captaining Team Tinker, he was doing decently there. He also, I think, captained Alliance. No, that was Mad captained Alliance. But Pycat, I think, maybe did at least some captaining when he was on that team, or at least shot calling. But yeah, so he's definitely an older player. He's not like a hero unit. It's not like, you know, he's not going to be aggressive at TI5. It's not like you're just going to bring Pycat on. He's going to carry the team. But he does have a wealth of experience. It's just kind of questionable what he's going to do in this Na'Vi roster. It seems like a kind of strange character to bring back into it.
What position does he usually play?
He's between 1 and 2. He played mid for Alliance at the last TI that he attended. But he's definitely either a 1 or a 2. I like him a lot as a 1 because he's not a big like breakout crazy player. But he can play more of that fear carry where it's nice and solid and reliable and gives your team a lot of direction. So I like the idea of a Pycat Dendi duo in terms of their archetypes as players. I'm just not sure that they're I feel like a lot of the successful teams have like one reliable either mid or safe laner and then one like breakout crazy good mid, like the Fear Artesia dynamic or the Fear Sumail dynamic, Loda S4, No Tail Miracle. Like that's a really great dynamic to have in your two cores, but I don't know if Dendi can measure up to like that Sumail, Arteezy, Miracle, S4 kind of caliber, and I don't know if PyCat can measure up to that like Fear or No Tail caliber. So
How
I'm not sure if this is going to be a top team, but
how do you think team? I feel like when I first started trying to pay attention to the Dota 2 pro scene. It felt like most captains were in the support position, right?
right.
PPD being that most classic example of.
PPD, Puppy, yeah.
So, I mean, do we see a lot of pro teams with maybe the position 1 or the position 2 being the shot caller?
No, it's really rare. Even me captaining Hakuna Matata, I definitely like to defer to my supports to call the early game rotations. Like it's more like I name things that we should do, and then my supports decide which of the I like. Can we gank this? Can you stack this? Can you do this? And if any time like they're gonna tell me yes or no, I'm not gonna be like do this, and then they're like, well, I can't, but I'll do it anyway.
Right.
So the safe laner like between last hitting like the main technique that you need is you need to like last hit and then look at the map in between every last hit, and if your lane is being contested, that is fucking difficult. If it's a perfect free farm lane, totally easy, but if you're getting like aggro duodon and you're just getting like shit on and you also need to call all the map movement, it's very difficult. So you do need supports that have a good amount of ability to make their own calls for themselves if you're going to have the one position be calling shots. So I mean I hope it works out well for them. But so their other two are they're getting Biver from Pro Dota, who is I don't know a great deal about this player. He's apparently good enough that Navi wants to pick him up. But he's been decently successful with Pro Dota. Not like Pro Dota as in professional Dota, but the organization known as Pro Dota. They've won a few small cups. And he's got some prize money to his name, so better than Justin from Complexity. So yeah, I mean they're decent. They've beaten Imperial a few times. Yeah, it seems fine. Nothing too crazy. I'm not sure to expect an absurd amount from this guy. He may turn out to be a Jerax. We're like, wow, it turns out he's incredible. But just a standard support. And then we have RMN, who was another player who they got from Power Rangers. So, I mean, if Power Rangers just wants to be I guess he was on Fantastic Five with like, who was that with? Like Illidan, yeah, Illidan and Yol. And Fantastic Five did do pretty well, but another former Power Rangers player going to Na'Vi. So I think this is cementing my theory that Power Rangers is just the Na'Vi farm team. Like that's just
they're the start of the minor leagues.
Yeah, not like how like Chinese leagues have like LGD was like LGD and then LGD deck and then LGD Forever Young and shit. Like they have Navi and then Navi Power Rangers. Like that's what it is. All right, so that's that. I'm gonna be honest. I don't expect shit from this team. I really don't think this is gonna go well. Their only unknowns is like, oh, maybe this player's gonna be like really good and pull them out of nowhere. Are their support duo, and they haven't played together before. They're from like, I guess it's Germany and Denmark. The language barrier wouldn't be too insane, but I don't know. It seems like there's like a weird language chemistry going on here. Although I mean that was fine when they had Kuroki, but eventually Kuroki just had to leave because he hated it. It just seemed I'm not expecting a great deal. I hope they do well. I hope PyCat does well, but I can't expect a lot. They don't have like a breakout star player, and their new elements putting in aren't really that much of a mystery outside of if it just turns out that RNM is like Jerax too.
Right. Fair enough.
Yeah. All right. That's that, man. That's all I got to say about that. I hope they do well. I don't know. So then the other thing is Liquid, notable, like incredibly strong team, kind of fell flat at the major. And if you saw recently, Matumba Man had some clip on Twitch where he was talking about just how he hasn't really been the same since getting crushed at TI. But he's feeling a bit better now. But they dropped Bulba, RIP Bulba, and they picked up GH God, who kind of similar to Miracle. Coming into the international, we were just seeing like while the international was going on, the only stream highlights we were ever getting was like GH God playing Magnus being a fucking mad baller and just doing like crazy ass shit, like a Rise level, like oh my god. But like he all played What?
I saw the announcement for GH. I had no idea who he was before seeing some random Reddit post. And the one thing that they included on that announcement was just a big old fucking picture of Magnus.
Yeah, right. But he's a support here.
Magnus or GH?
No. GH.
So, so they're not picking it up. So what you're saying is he's basically like a world-renowned Magnus, and they're not picking him up to play Magnus.
Yeah, he does other things besides play Magnus. I mean, if you're gonna like look at stream highlights or whatever, you can be way better on any other hero than Magnus, but the ones that are gonna look super fucking cool are the ones on Magnus, right?
All right, fair enough.
So I mean, he's a strong player. He's got solid MMR.
Has he played with any professional team before this?
I think he's like stood in for various teams. He played with Imperial for a bit, but his only real team that he was actually on was E-Lab, which is not a team. Don't worry about that one.
All right.
But yeah, I mean, he's a 9K player, and he's just really good. He just hasn't played much Pro Dota. I mean, like Attacker would be a good pickup for a number of teams. I mean, I actually don't think Attacker is like that good in a non-pub sense, but I mean, he's a strong player. GH God definitely not a weak player in any respect. And he's going to play the 5 position, which it's a little difficult to bring like a total pub star into 5. I think bringing pub stars into 2 or 1 are pretty okay, or 4 maybe. But you don't get the best professional, like playing 5 in a pub versus playing 5 in professional. Those are like worlds of difference, right? Like that's not even like having to like buy all the items and like just like warding anywhere and trying to gank anywhere and like trying to create team movement and no one's listening to you and everyone's flaming and feeding and shit. Like that's very different from like coordinating farm with your 4 and like, oh no, I need this item now. Can you like pick up wards for a second? And like smoking together and like sitting behind a carry and doing coordinated movements. Like that's what you want out of your 5. So I think it'll be a little bit interesting to see how that's actually going to work out. But I mean, I think it'll go well. GH is a really strong player, and they won they won Dream League Invitational, Dream League season 6 against Escape, and they did okay versus Empire. So I don't know. We'll see how it grows. I think this is definitely going to be something that's going to take a month to get straight.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is the time for that to happen, right? Roster switches. The deadline for that was last week.
Sure.
So I mean, yeah, everybody's
I don't remember.
To an extent, everybody's going to be dealing with this kind of for the next month, wouldn't you say? I mean, most teams saw some level of change or addition of new
I'm
blood.
Looking forward to it. I think he's a really strong player. It's not, I don't know. I mean, it's pretty rare to have an absurdly high MMR player like go to a support position. So even just as an experiment, I'm gonna be pretty hopeful to see how that turns out. I hope it goes well.
Who are the other like pub stars? Who else would you ascribe that pub star? I guess description to that's recently come up in the scene, because wasn't Sumail considered a pub star before TI6 before joining
sure,
EG?
Yeah, I mean, he was more of an in-house star, but yeah, Sumail, Miracle, Mid One, Attacker, although he's not really on a team now. Man, I can't just like shoot out a list right quick. Let's see.
So I mean, there's I guess I always get confused when I hear
name any top tier mid right now. I would say is like basically almost all of them. Like CTY was one, maybe sort of. I think that's probably the biggest breadth of it. I would say. I would maybe replace Pubstar with like absurd high MR player.
Okay, all right.
Like your 9Ks, whatever, Matumba Man, Miracle, Arteezy. Like Sumail isn't even a very high MR player, but those people that are capable of showing that their individual skill is goes a long way.
Yeah, I feel like that. I mean, so one, I know that term gets thrown around in a derogatory way, right? Pub star.
I wouldn't really call it derogatory, but I mean, you may say like, oh, he's a pub star, but he hasn't like, won like a LAN or anything like that. Um, which is one way that I guess it could be used in a kind of pejorative way. But I don't know. For me, it's just like if I call someone a pub star, it's like the difference between I don't know, take like the way Fear plays versus the way Matumba Man plays. Like that, Fear is not a pub star. Matumba Man totally is. Like flashy, gonna like try to manhandle a game all by themselves and be
Right.
like the star player and shit like that.
Yeah,
Like the
gotcha.
kind of like diva players. Not that there's anything wrong with being
Sure.
like a diva in Dota, but like someone who's gonna when you play, you're going to be very aware that you are playing against this player. Like if you're playing against Fear, it's like, oh, like Fear is, in my opinion, the best carry to ever play Dota. But if I was playing against Fear, I wouldn't be like, okay, guys, time to prepare for playing against Fear. Like he's just gonna
Right.
do his Fear things. And he's gonna be Fear things. You prepare against like the Sumail and the Miracle, not the Fear or the No Tail.
Right. Okay. Yeah, makes sense. Works
Cool.
for
All
me.
right. So next on the docket, we got the PPD and Demon teams. What is that? I think it's like Wanted and Onyx. Is that it? Let's
Mm,
see. Wanted. Yeah, the PPD team is the one with QO. Yeah, this looks good. And I think Onyx is yeah, Team Onyx. Here we go. Yes. Okay, so we'll go with the PPD team first. PPD's new lineup. It's Chessie, formerly of Alliance, and then an injury, and then Complexity. And I'm kind of looking forward to this team pretty well. Chessie QO, I really like this duo. Chessie is another. I think he was mid for. I think he played carrying Complexity, but he was mid in Alliance. And he did great, and then his back injury kind of took him out, and he may have missed a bit of his window to be a star player. But he's back in it and he's doing well. QO is
well,
as also known as Korean 430. Ferrari 430, one of the best mids to ever play the game. And QO, when he came in, was like the Korean version of Ferrari 430.
so
QO is
who did you say Mr. Window?
Chessie. I'm afraid they might have. Chessie definitely missed his window as a like top five mid player. When the new Alliance roster first formed, like when they dropped S4 and that sort of thing, they were actually doing really, really well with Chessie. But he had a back injury and just had to like quit Dota, and Alliance just kind of fell apart and hasn't truly recovered that well since then. But Chessie was one of those players who looked like they were gonna be, like not Miracle or anything like that, but Miracle is like the fucking Bone Schwa of Dota 2, or at least he was, which is a StarCraft term. Sorry. And but Chessie at least looked like like a top 10, like definitely tier 1 mid player that any team would be looking to pick up before his back injury. But I feel like if you have that, I'm gonna talk about this more later, but you have that like breakout new player, Super Saiyan level, like super fresh, do crazy shit, and then as you go on, like the kind of new crazy stuff you're bringing to the game, or like that sharp new skills and your new tactics become kind of figured out, and then you kind of dull a little bit, and then you get to be more on this Fear side of the spectrum than a Sumail. So he
Yep.
definitely has passed that crazy point a little bit, um, but he's still definitely a strong player, and I do like him in a kind of more stable role, like the safe lane carry, kind of like how Resolution, insanely strong mid player, transitioned to carry after kind of his time had passed. So I definitely like that coming into it. QO definitely still brings something fresh. Korean Dota is caveman Dota, and I really like that, and I like that they're still gonna have like QO as this mid player. I'm a little worried about the language thing. These transplanted Korean players to these new teams is going to be a lot of really interesting stuff seeing down the road. But so the roster is Chessie, QO, a new player Boris, who is definitely known in NA pubs to an extent. Jo, who is formerly of the old Complexity roster, really really old Complexity roster from like TI2 with like Fluff and Mike and TC. And then he was on EG for a bit, very middling, kind of low. It was in that wave of Western players that went to Korea to kind of cash in and stimulate that scene. And then he joined in with Rave, who had an amazing set of games in at DAC a few years ago, and they got like fifth or sixth or something like that, and then kind of fizzled out after that. Jo did also play on Archon, last year around this time, and they managed to qualify for the Frankfurt majors. So it's not like Jo.'s been out of it. He played on Rave, and he carried what was actually a bunch of 4Ks. Rave was actually a team that had, I think, 4.6K players on it, and captained them all the way to 5th to 6th at DAC. Obviously, they got better after they were playing like that, but if you're a 4K listening to this, meet a player like Jo, maybe we see you at the next big tournament. That's honestly the craziest story, that Rave started with like 4.6K players, or at least a couple of them, and managed to get that far. But anyway, Jo, definitely a good element to have in a captain if he can take Rave from garbage to 5th at DAC. And then they have PPD, of course, as the captain, who is now the CEO of Evil Geniuses. So it's announced that this team is not actually going to be like full-time craziness. They're not looking to be the next EG, but they're going to play a bunch of games, see what they can do, and maybe try to qualify for something. This kind of reminds me of like whenever a TI is coming around, and like some lineup with like Korok and Sneak King or whatever is gonna rise up, like, hey, maybe we'll play for this. Only this is like they're always gonna be kind of in that mode.
Yeah,
so it's like a Veggies esports only with like top tier pros.
Awesome. Yeah, that'd be a fun team to watch.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm really interested in how QO is going to work, and I'm worried about the language barrier with QO, but because we'll touch on MVP later, but this will be pretty interesting. And then we've got Team Onyx with Mason, Bulba, Demon, and Dubu. Actually, Dubu, who's known as who is a support player on MVP, another Korean transplant going into the NA scene. Mason, known for being carried to 3rd place at TI4 by EG. And it's opinions on whether or not he was carried or whether or not he actually earned the position. But either way, he has had success in his only real stint in professional Dota. Bulba, I don't think a lot needs to be said about Bulba. Very strong player with the worst luck of any human being that's ever played the game. And then Demon, who
wait, why do you say that? Why do you say that about poor Bulba?
Bulba has been so deep in the Dota scene for so long, and every team that he's been on has had so many issues. Complexity did well, got a start. This is way old Complexity, like TI2. TI3, played with Liquid, did amazingly, like carried the shit out of them. TI4 still, and then after, so then TI4, Liquid was just a fucking mess of a team.
I remember seeing him play Sky, that was right when I got into Dota. I got into it like right before TI4, and I remember I was spamming Skywrath like a madman, and so I just started watching Bulba play, at TI4, and he played a lot of Skywrath during that tournament, and it was amazing. He was great to watch. I learned a lot from just watching from his perspective. But yeah.
I feel like I haven't really watched him play. Yeah, took off my push to talk. Fuck you. I haven't really watched him play support that much, but every time he has switched to support, it's gone terribly. Not maybe so much his individual skill, but just the results of what happened to the team. When he was on EG as an what did he play on EG? That he was like no, that wasn't that long ago. Okay.
He was like a 4.
Yeah, so it was like Liquid. Yeah, no, he was mid when he was on EG. What did he play on Team Tinker? Because Team Tinker was a fucking catastrophe. Okay, he was 3. He was off lane. That's fine. Okay, but yeah, he's played support for Liquid, and that was kind of okay. Like, he was a really good off laner. Then he switched to support when they had the new roster. The drama with Fluff blew up, and Fluff was kicked from Liquid, and that team was just kind of never the same after that. They brought in like Way2, who was a very questionable pro that they had a lot of faith in, that just failed miserably. They got Demon later on. It was just this like weird train wreck of stuff.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember Demon.
The only consistent thing was that Koifa was like by far the best player in that team and deserved like everything in the world. Like how hard he fucking, like every game he carried the shit out of them.
But you think Koifa missed his window too, right?
Well, we're gonna touch that later.
Oh, okay.
Idiot.
Oh, excuse me.
But yeah, so like Boba did well, and then he was switched to support. The team did kind of middling. He was switching off between support and off lane with Demon. And then Team Tinker happened, and that was like a Pycat team with like Sing Sing and shit. Sing Sing coming off of I'm sorry. I should never eat peanuts before I record. I like knew that, and I'm still eating them. This is the last one, but just get anyway. This is unprofessional. Um,
Remember when you said
yeah,
you're
she
going to
was
be
on
all
that team
professional?
shut up. Coming off of Cloud9, and that team was just a series of mistakes and poor outcomes. What was it? It was Koifa, Black, Bulba, Way2, and Pylai Dai. Pylai Dai did well. Way2, total. And Way2 is not a good player. I'm going to be honest. Not a big fan of Way2 on this show. Going to throw that out now. Bulba did pretty well. Koifa did amazingly. Black, this was before Black. Well, no, I guess Black was like a way later addition. They had PyCap before then, and it was just like a revolving door of terrible outcomes. So Team Tinker fell apart, and pretty much every player associated with that, just like did terribly on that team. And then as soon as they left, found a lot of success. And then yeah, Excalibur was on there at some point. Jesus, that was a mess. Then he joins EG as like a coach, and then eventually manages to get on EG as a player, and that goes horribly. And then he joins Secret, and he does amazingly on Secret, like one of the best, if not the most consistent player on that team, and really holds them together. And then they just fucking fall apart because that iteration of Secret had a lot of issues, but none of them were Bulba's fault. So it's just a kind of a sad history for him. Really solid player, but every team he joins falls apart. And now he's going to be on another one with like Mason and Demon and like a Korean transplant. I just can't see how this goes well for him. I want it to go well, but it's just not going to. Oh yeah, and then he was on Liquid, and they kicked him as soon as things weren't going well. But I mean, being the American transplant in a European team, like that's gonna happen. He didn't perform amazingly, didn't perform poorly, but anyway. So he's on a new team now, with Demon and Mason, and this just like Demon and Mason are both pretty controversial characters in the NA scene. Demon is great, but he definitely has his share of kind of weird mentality stuff going on. He did amazingly with TNC. Interestingly with Fnatic, but Fnatic, obviously, as we saw with True Sight, was not the most stable situation. So I'm interested in seeing how this is going to come together, and I'm really interested in seeing who their mid player is going to be. I feel like every team right now, at least every new team, needs one breakout star mid player that's going to bring something unexpected. And I have no idea who it could possibly be. Like, there's no really good mid player waiting around. Fada has been taken. Mason is more of a fear carry than an Arteezy or a who's that other guy? Matumba Man. More of that kind of stable carry than like a really strong breakout pop star diva carry. So they're gonna need something crazy to like unify this whole team because they don't have any incredible plays coming out right now. So interested in seeing how this goes. Not incredibly hopeful.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good to me.
All right, and then we got Bears with Fada's new team, which I'm very excited for, just because the team is like called Bears with like an end parentheses, so it's like cool glasses.
And you and Ursi have a weird obsession with bears for some reason.
Mine's not weird. Lundred's the best hero. Ursi's
weird.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay, so they've got this dude Firo is their one player. No idea who the fuck this guy is. Gonna be honest. He played on. What fucking team was this? Perky Pep. Oh my god, he was on Peps. He was on Perky Pepperonis. I think I played against this guy.
Damn. Yeah. I don't know who the hell are Perky Pepperonis.
That was the team that we lost to in the TI qualifiers when we got round of 64 or whatever. Yeah, that guy shit on Skrunk as with Ursa.
Oh.
Okay, yeah, this guy's good. Yeah, repeatedly Skrunk was like, "Oh, I'm gonna kill him." No, wait, I died. And it was just like every 5 minutes, that was what I heard. So yeah, I'm hyped for this team now because I have played against him. Great. Yeah. So all right. So this guy's hopefully he's good. He was good enough to defeat Hakuna Murano, so he must be a very strong player. He must be
very, very good. He must be.
Yeah. Although I did feel like we could have won that game, so maybe.
I mean, you guys only have one 5K player in your team, though. So. To be fair,
at this point, yeah, only one 5.114K player.
Yeah, I mean one 5K player. I mean,
yep.
Yeah, you know,
I'm not the one who brings that up. Just saying. And then they have Fada, who is Fada's really interesting to me. He's not an Arteezy or a Miracle. Like he's not a hero unit. I want to just use this term from now on, hero unit, because like you're playing like StarCraft or Age of Empires, whatever. You have your one guy, and he's like a really strong unit, but he's a fucking hero unit. He's El Cid, he's fucking Tassadar, he's
Yeah,
fucking
yeah.
Phoenix, a really strong unit who's just like he's a Marine, but he's stronger than all the other Marines, and that's what I want to call like Arteezys and Jerax and fucking Sumails and Weehaw, shit like that. And Fada's not one of those players, but he's so solid. He's so solid, and he can make individual heroes work to the point where they're like signatures for him, like his Dragon Knight or his Zeus a while back for C9. He's a really good player, but he's not incredible. He has a quote like, "If Miracle asked me if I would like leave Liquid so he could take my place, I would do it in a fucking heartbeat." Like that's how much better he thinks Miracle is than him. He's just not even on the same tier that he would like give up his life just so that Miracle would like help his team out. So he's definitely not quite there, but he is an absurdly strong player. So I definitely he's one of my favorite mids in terms of mids that are just going to make sure a team performs well. So I'm glad that they're there. We've got Forev, MVP's offlaner, the new Korean transplant, going to a European team. So that's going to be interesting. Don't know how I feel about that. MVP to me is just sort of like this enigma of players outside of QO. I know how well they all do on their like respective roles and when I see them play, but I don't really actually know any of them by their handles. But I'm pretty sure that this is the guy who was playing. He was playing offlane when MVP was playing last TI, right? Is that correct? Yeah, he was. So he was their 5-man melee with a faceless void team. So definitely interested in what he's got to offer here.
Did MVP have any like notable success last year?
MVP, yeah. Last in TI they got like I don't actually remember what they got. It was either somewhere between fifth and fourth, or
Okay.
somewhere between sixth and fourth.
I guess
Yeah,
I don't.
they did well.
I
Yeah,
don't
no,
remember
they were
them
the
at
top
all.
team for a while. They won a tournament coming straight out of one of the majors. Yeah, people were like, yeah, MVP is the top team right now, around like Manila time,
Huh.
like right before Manila, I think they were.
Yeah, I just I guess I felt like all the hype was more around like OG at that time. You know.
Yeah, you're wrong though.
Mm. Hmm.
Well,
Okay.
I mean, a lot of it was like they do fly under the radar a decent amount just because they're a Korean team. But yeah, like if you look at their achievements, yeah, international they got fifth, sixth place, losing out to Fnatic. Looks like they got first place in a smaller tournament against C-Deck, fifth, sixth place at Manila. They won Dota Pit Season 4, fourth place at the Shanghai Major before that. They won, yeah, they got seventh, eighth at TI5. Yeah, no, they did pretty well. They, like, every tournament looks like they finished no less than sixth, actually, in any tournament
Wow.
outside of Boston Major where they fucking lost. But,
So,
I mean, they also played against
wait, so how much of their
OG there.
old roster is left then?
None. The team is like gone.
Okay,
They
so
have Velo, Febi, and Ryzen. Ryzen as a sub, but yeah, they don't. Yeah, the team is basically gone. MVP picked up a new team, MVP Resolution, which was a reacquire or an acquire from No Lifer 5 Reborn. So no idea what the fuck's going on there, but these players are basically
yeah.
entirely unknown. So we'll see how that goes.
Hmm.
Yeah, God, location Kurg is Stan. I have no idea where these people are from, but maybe they'll work out for them. Who knows? But yeah, so MVP was really strong. Definitely one of the most notable teams last year, I would say, for certain. But yeah, so they have Forev as the offlaner. Then they have a support duo of Adam, who is formerly known as 343. The I think he was the 4 player for Fnatic, when they got fourth at the international. So I mean, he definitely a really strong player. He just looks like he'd be my friend. Also, if you ever look up 343 on Wikipedia, like he looks like a nice guy. So I'm really happy that he looks like such a nice person. And then they got Yapsor off of Escape. Yapsor, one of the best players on Escape, one of the main reasons for their success. Kind of sad to see him off Escape. I love Era, I love Cinderin, I love Koifa, and I was really hoping that they would eventually make it out. But Yapsor left them, joining what hopes to be a better team, I guess. And I'm expecting nothing from this team for 2 months, and then I'm expecting to have like a crazy run in a tournament, and then I'm expecting them to bottom out.
I would
But
totally hang
I
out
would
with
love if they were
343.
just good.
Yeah, you're right.
Right? He's just
Yeah,
like,
he
he's like
seems
big
like a
dude,
nice dude.
glasses,
Yeah, just
nice
yeah,
beard.
solid
Like,
beard.
you get on,
I would ask
yeah,
him for some
you
beard
like get on
tips.
voice. Sure, yeah, you get on voice chat with him and be like, "Oh, hey, what's up? Yeah, I'm gonna play this hero," and it'd be like, "All right, cool."
Yeah, he seems like he'd even be patient with you. You know.
Yeah, very approachable pro
Yeah,
player. So,
yeah.
maybe next event I go to, I'll ask him for like an autograph on, I don't know, something tame like my forearm.
Or your left nipple. I mean, three
I
four
said
three is real
no.
short. You know.
Yeah, no, they probably fit.
Yeah.
Um, okay, great.
So he's playing for Bears.
He's playing for Bears. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
All right, and on the the Chinese side, um, let's look at what the fuck's going on with Ehome, man. What's up with that?
Yeah,
You know?
I have no idea. I know that eHome was it eHome we were. Oh no, it was a newbie that like hasn't been the same newbie
Yeah, Newbie was a
ever,
complete reform. Ehome
and
was
is like every
largely
6 months.
similar. Yeah, yeah. Ehome was like largely similar from last TI. Who did they drop? Fucking Lanham? Was it Lanham that they dropped? Yeah. Oh no. They still had Lanham. They dropped shit. I'm looking at the wrong thing. They dropped Ice Ice Ice. Ice 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 went to Faceless. Ice 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 was playing their one position, which obviously was like he just didn't have a team, and he's like, guess I'll just play carry for fucking Ehome or whatever. Um, yeah, they dropped. I guess they had Fenrir at that point. Yeah, they dropped Fenrir.
Oh
Um,
yeah, Fenrir. Jesus,
yeah,
yeah, he was amazing at TI6.
yeah. I mean, he did pretty well as far as I know. Well, yeah, they got fifth, sixth on Ehome. Yeah, no, he definitely did well, and they lost to a DC second place team. No
Yeah,
disrespect there.
no,
But yeah, so they were doing decently, but they haven't been doing that great this year. And the most notable change is Lanham has actually left the team and is now acting as the coach. And their old offlaner 11, most notably known for his lone druid play. He's a really strong lone druid, and I followed him a lot when I was trying to play lone druid offlane. I was checking what he was doing. But that 11 is now a sub, so no more old chicken old 11 duo. Now 11's just out. So their new team is CTY, notably known as the 5 Minute God back in the day. He was known for being one of the best mids in China at the laning phase, but he sucked everywhere else. But the first 5 minutes, man, he was a fucking god. But at some point, he was playing together with Maybe, and Maybe is a stronger mid than him overall, so he switched to the safe lane, and Maybe is kept on as being more or less, I guess, when he came in, he was the Arteezy of China, but I guess now maybe you'd call him the maybe a bit more like the Sumail of China. I think that's fair to say at this point. Um, or maybe Sumail is the maybe of the states. Who knows? Anyway, maybe absurdly good enough to push CTY onto the carry role. But CTY is like a very influential player in terms of really anything he plays. If you saw the trend of anti mages getting really far ahead and then they just pick up a hyperstone, like they go Battle Fury, Manta, and then they just get a fucking hyperstone and get like AC. That's something that CTY started, and that's is really fucking smart tech. Anytime anyone innovates anything on anti-mage, they've got to be really confident because that's such a tried and true hero. The fact that he would just be like, you know what, I'm gonna build a fucking AC after my Manta, like that's a fucking baller right there. So I'm a big fan of CTY. I'm glad that he's still there.
yeah. Do you think real quick? Do you think these changes are worthwhile? I mean, like, wow, that's such an overhaul, and Ehome looked strong last year. I mean, they looked, yeah, they got beat, but I mean, I don't know. It's it baffles me some of these roster changes.
Or like kind of conceptual dialogue, I think, going on within Dota in like a real meta sense over long-standing team versus like switching it up at not the first sign of problems, but like when the writing is on the wall, right? Like you take Ad Finum, Stay Together Forever, fucking incredible team. Incredible story. Fairly low skill individuals. Not to say they're bad or whatever, but they don't have hero units. Like there's no Miracle on that team. There's no Maybe on that team. There's no Jarix. They're just fucking like they just play super super well together. and it may be kind of questionable at like what kind of level they're playing at. I saw a lot of people say that like the finals of the last major was actually fairly low skill. It was just like kind of like the way teams ended up, and like some of the better teams maybe just like failed and like lost out early because like one mistake or some shit like that. But there is some dialogue going on between like top tier pros that like maybe OG is not the second coming of God, and like Ad Finum was like fun to watch, but they weren't actually playing very good Dota. But either way,
How do you feel about that? Like, where do you fall?
I thought they were really good. I definitely don't think Ad Finum is playing top tier Dota. I definitely don't think that they're going to be a top tier team coming out of this. I think they had a really good run, and I think they had a lot of hype behind them, and I think the brackets favored them pretty decently. I love them to death, don't get me wrong, but if I'm being like super objective, I feel like Ad Finum is going to have one, maybe two more good runs before. Because I mean, if you start from the bottom and then you get here, there's no pressure on you to, or maybe there's no internal pressure in the team, right? Like teams, they don't change because of bad results. They change because of internal issues, right? And normally bad results do cause internal issues. But if you're a team like Ad Finum and you're in Greece and your fucking economy is dying, I'm just assuming. I have no fucking idea. I don't know anything, honestly. If you ever asked me, I was just talking. Anyway, but I'm sure, they're just a bunch of boys playing some dotes. They lose a tournament, like, oh, we lost that tournament. Like, if fucking Hakuna Murana gets 64th, like, round of 64 in the open qualifier, it's not going to be like, Ursi, you're off the team. I can't deal with this anymore. Like, I'm just be like, oh, no, we lost. Like, but if you're got second in a major and then you're just failing, you're going to look at each other and say, like, okay, like, what's going wrong here? Obviously, we're capable of something, but there's some aspect that's, like, holding us back. Maybe you don't do that so quick if you're a team like Ad Finum that's, like, built on friendship and shit. But, like, let's say you make a new roster, like this eHome thing. Their captain is this dude, JDH, who they hired internally from one of their farm teams from eHome Keen. And they have this dude, G. I'm not sure what teams he's been on. I'm not sure if I'm aware of him or if he's just okay. He was on IG for a really long time. Yeah, G. So they have like him. Like these players aren't like the best of friends. They've been playing together forever, but it's just really questionable. If like okay, if they join together and it's not working from the onset, is there a reason to really like stay together? If they're not like that tight with each other personally, or should they just try to find a new team? And then you have a team like the old eHome. They had old 11 and old Chicken, obviously good friends. 11 didn't leave the team; he's just a sub now. Lanham didn't leave the team either; he's a coach. So they still kind of have the connections that they had from their older team, but they definitely brought in some newer elements, right? So they have Guevara, who's their offlaner now, who is from another eHome farm team. Which one was this? From eHome Luminous. I think they had some success. But yeah, so they have maybe some star players from these like eHome farm teams, which is cool that system is working out for them. But it kind of makes me think: is it so much that they wanted these new players that badly, or was it just that 11 wanted to not play and now he's a sub, and Lanham wanted to not play and now he's a coach, and they just picked up two players from their other teams and just moved them up because they needed someone? Like, was this a necessary internal hiring, or was this like, oh, they're so fucking good, let's bring them up here?
I don't know why. And do we know? We have no idea. Basically, is what you're saying.
I'm not Korean barbecue. I don't know that shit. Some callback humor. Anyway, I don't know that much about the Chinese scene. We've upfront with you guys. But I mean, this is like interesting. Lanham, incredible player. He's had some kind of health issues. He has like a child and shit now. He may be going the way of Zhao, where he just takes a break when TI's not coming around, and then once TI's around, like obviously he's still in the coaching position, so his intent isn't to just fuck off completely. He wants to stay fresh. He wants to stay involved with the pro scene. But also, I mean, if you're not a huge innovator, like now's the time to take a break, because everything that we're doing right now is going to be wrong in 2 months. Like huge patch has dropped. Everything's fucking wild right now, and no one is doing the correct thing. Like literally just fucking no one. No one knows what the fuck they're doing. So if you're like a big captain or whatever, maybe it's in your best interest to be behind the scenes coaching, telling people to try shit out, and not spending your time practicing yourself and just thinking about the game, watching how it develops, and then come back in with Lanham as your 5 position or 4 position or whatever once like things get a little more figured out and he's ready to innovate on like an established game.
Yeah, it's interesting. I guess I feel like for the casual observer looking at, a pro player choosing to step back and be in a different role, I guess with Sans outside circumstances, like a health issue, like a family issue, it's hard to imagine.
Or like fear, like he literally just couldn't play, so now he's a coach.
Yeah, yeah. So sans that kind of stuff, it's hard to imagine taking, because you mentioned, wanting to take a step back, or at least I think in the case of 11.
Something going on, but I would say there's definitely something to do with like internal stuff. People like whenever say, oh, why did this team like fall, like why did they kick this player, like AUI notably, like why did they kick AUI, like they won TI, why did they kick him, or
that does seem foolish. Right? I mean, well, not the
okay, so this is my opinion, and this is the opinion of most pros that I've listened to have shared. Like if someone gets kicked from a team, it's not just like random ass bullshit. It's because there is some kind of issue and they know that it will not work in the long term. Like PPD performs exceptionally well, like really, really fucking good. But the fact of the matter is the current EG would not have been able to be formed. They wouldn't have like been able to get like Arteezy and have, like Crit and Zai and like, have them be like a full together team if PPD was still playing there. It's just a fact that Arteezy and PPD don't mix. You can say, oh, maybe having PPD is better than Arteezy or whatever, but like the fact is they needed a new carry. Fear could not play. He wasn't even supposed to play for TI, but they just needed a carry. Fear's not going to do that again. And the fact of the matter is, like, there may have been some other issues going on with, like, Sumail and PPD, or something they really wanted to play with Crit, but there's no way to do that. Who knows, honestly? There's some shit happened, and the players decided that, like, they didn't want to continue with the new roster. And Dota is such an emotional game. If your players don't want to do something, it's not going to fucking work. It's just not. So if ever there's some kind of internal issues that they don't feel like they can be solved, and if the players would just feel much better just like walking away from it and doing something else, like that's what's going to need to happen. You may say it's a fault for the players for like having gotten to the point where they feel that way, like maybe say, oh, they won TI, like they definitely should have been able to reconcile whatever their issues with AUI were or whatever. Like that's so beside the point. That's like saying like, oh, you shouldn't have a mentality issue. Like, oh, no fucking shit, dude. I didn't want to have a mentality issue. There just is one. This isn't a choice I made. So that's kind of how I view a lot of these team changes. A lot of them are because they feel like they have to. Maybe there are some players who get angry at other players too easily. Team Tinker was a team that had a lot of internal issues. And if you saw, there's like one clip where like Pycat was like yelling at the whole team. The team was just like, oh, I just don't want to listen to this shit right now. Like no one was even looking at him while he was like trying to like tell them how to play better, like in very forceful way. And it's like that team is gonna fall apart. Like regardless of how well they do, the team does not communicate well, and they clearly don't like playing together, so they're gonna fall apart. And that's roster changes. If a team has roster changes, chances are the team knows something that you don't. So try to, you don't have to like dissect these players' lives or whatever, but, people when they're playing on Dota teams, they're going to do what they do.
Fair enough. Yeah. I guess I always look at it more, the way, and admittedly traditional sports, not always the perfect model to apply to esports. But I mean, hell, that's where you see team psychologists come into play, even, right? You try to work with, you try to get the talent you have to start working together and get through, hell, even basic communication theory, points to teams going through, storming phases, right? I guess it leaves to the casual observer. It appears that anytime a Dota team hits the storming phase, it just crumbles. Nobody hangs around.
True. That's certainly true, especially in like NA Dota. I feel like it's evened out a pretty good amount. But yeah, like any demon stack, any Brax stack, like Summer's Rift or whatever, they had like BSJ and shit. Like apparently, like I was really a big fan of BSG's stream at the time. I still am. Yet BSJ, just say that out there. Great stream. Questionable dude, great stream. I like him a good amount, honestly. His stream is awesome. But anyway, yeah, like as soon as that team, like as soon as they went to like one tournament, everyone was just like fighting and just like everyone was talking behind each other's backs. It was just like the worst thing ever. So that's one reason why I'm kind of questionable about the demon sect that's going on. Um, but yeah, like I don't know. There's some teams that do really well when they stick together for a long time, and then there's teams like Fnatic who tried to stick together for 3 years, and they just never really progressed. So it's not the perfect route to success. Stick with your team as much as you can if you see there's potential. If not, like if the writing's on the wall, don't force yourself in a bad situation. If you feel bad about your team, maybe something needs to be done. If you feel
Yeah.
good about your team, even though you're losing, then yeah, stay in it.
Well, and don't get me wrong, there are also countless, to go back to the traditional sports model, there are also countless examples of people, being relocated from teams or having issues with other teammates where, yeah, like the decision was made, okay, we can just get along better without this motherfucker. You look like
Yeah.
look at Roger Clemens. I don't know if you follow baseball at all, but I mean,
Of course I do.
yeah, Roger Clemens was a big pain in the ass. He was kind of an asshole, and a lot of people didn't like playing with him because he was an
Okay.
asshole.
Yeah.
I can see, obviously, like even in traditional sports, there are, at some point you can't force the team dynamic to be
Yeah.
there. And
And it's
you've got to
also
make changes in order to do that. I totally get that. It seems to happen. It seems to happen with way more frequency, even given these roster locks. Um, which there was an email question that I think was addressed to you and I that we should try to get to before the end of the show. But even with all the roster locks and the changes that Valve tried to implement, we still see drastic roster changes. We still see teams like EG decline an invite so they can come back through with their new roster. You know what I mean? Those things still happen. And it becomes difficult because you look at we were just talking about eHome, right? How do I be a fan of eHome when eHome changes constantly? You know what I mean? How do I stay a fan of EG or Navi when the roster changes? I mean, maybe EG a little less than others, but and Navi less so than others with Dendi. But how do I maintain my fandom for a particular team when the people maybe I fall in love with aren't there in 4 months or 6 months?
you're really not, honestly. You can be fans of captains and you can stay around with that, but yeah, I mean Dota is such an emotional game that changes so much that it is honestly almost never going to be the point where you are a big fan of a team versus individual players. Like you can't be the only team that you could be like a 5 year fan of is Navi and then kind of EG when Fear was on it, but he's not even playing anymore.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, at least with Fear,
it's just
he's
the fact of
leaving,
the matter.
with different reasons. But, I mean, I still think, like, honestly, EG is probably the best example of, like, what it would be worthwhile to strive towards. Where, yeah, you have PPD kind of stepping back and taking a more managerial role in the organization. And the same with Fear. And these guys who made the organization great but still remain a part of it, that's a legacy to leave behind for as far as like for a fan, right? Yeah, I'm watching the team that that had Fear and now still has Fear in a different capacity, or had
Yeah,
PPD
I
and now
mean, a
does,
lot of that is just because NA Dota is so like such a small such a small top tier. Like there's just like not that much. So like all the best NA players like end up there, right?
right.
It's like the only
That's
really
a good point.
successful NA organization. So that's kind of. But like if you look at like a European team, like you can be a fan of Alliance if you're a fan of Loda. And like Bulldog didn't leave forever. He didn't really ever really join another team. But like I don't know, like let's say you want to be a fan of Liquid. They were kind of similar for like 2 years, and then completely then no roster, and then like a new roster. It's just like that's just kind of how the game goes. Like if you that kind of model really works for other traditional sports because you have a lot less interaction between players. Like yeah, they all practice together, but they have like an outside coach that they like are more relating to. Like the players aren't individual relating to each other as much in like traditional sports, or even a team like football where you have like 56 fucking players on a team.
Yeah.
Like one person can't fuck up that whole dynamic. You're not like, if you don't like that one person, well guess what, like unless he's next to you in the fucking starting lineup, it's not gonna matter. You're never even gonna touch that motherfucker, much
Yeah.
less see them outside. Like
Yeah,
you
on a
see them
Dota
at
team, you're
game.
going to spend 95% of your time with that guy about 2.5 feet
Yeah.
away from you.
And
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, and you have to deal with their hero. Like it's you can't not like it's unavoidable. And then like StarCraft, yeah, players can stay on the same team, but yeah, it's just like
But yeah, what even defines? Yeah,
That patch changes, and you hate the way someone plays the game on your team or whatever. Like, I've had people that I've been on teams with that I just absolutely fucking hated the way they played, and it was really fucking difficult to stay on a team with them. But like, that's just how Dota works, man. It's not going to be a game where we have like really stable teams, and even if you do try to do that, you'll end up with something like EG where like someone just like needs to not like RTs is just like, yo, I can't fucking play with PPD. I need to get out, and then it creates like this huge fucking shift, and everything goes crazy. And then you have like AUI playing carry for like the first time in forever on EG, and then it just like goes poorly, and it turns out they still can't play together, and it's just like, whoop, everything's fucking crazy. Like that's Dota. Everything's fucking crazy. The game is fucking crazy. The rosters are fucking crazy.
Yeah,
that's just how it is.
So
I think that's pretty much everything in terms of the teams. I think Kezu to Secret. Yeah, so Escape is like they lost their incredible offlaner who is this Han legend Kezu. Kezu often thought of as the best player in Han beside maybe No Tail. Kezu was definitely the best player in Han by the end of Han. And real big up and comer. I think he got like 6K within like a month of picking the game up or something like that. Like really fucking good, and he's gonna be incredible coming into it. He's still really young. He's still 21. It's not like he was the best in his time. It ended like when like Flash and Jadong switched over to StarCraft 2. Like they already did it. Like they hit their peak already. They're not gonna try a new game and then get it absurd. Kezu's still young enough that can happen. So Kezu to Secret, it's gonna be interesting. We'll see how that goes. Secret was doing pretty well with their old roster. They just, fucked up the international qualifiers. I'm sure some kind of drama surrounding the, fact that Puppy literally stole money from his players, probably had some kind of impact on that team. But anyway, they still have mid one. They have Kezu now replacing, so they'll probably do pretty decently. They still have Pylai Dai. And it remains to be seen how Puppy is going to do as captain going forward, but that's going to be interesting. I just rip Escape, man. Feel so bad for those people.
Yeah, that blows.
All right, give me your game. What was the game?
Oh yeah, well we'll do the game. We got one last thing.
No, we're just going to keep going, dude.
All right, fair enough. No, we got a question. I ripped this one away from the Tuesday Q&A because I feel like it belongs here on this show. Okay, this is for you.
Okay.
All right, that I did this. So Mr. Blue wrote in asking what we all thought of the major system now that we're a full year into it. Do you think it's done what Valve set out to accomplish, or has it been too harmful to third-party tourneys? I figure you're hardcore into the pro scene. I want to know, especially what you think.
I love it that it's 2 majors now. I think that this year is going to be perfect. There are still big third-party tournaments. At least there have been this year. Summits are always great to watch. I think it's a little sad that ESL isn't doing American tournaments anymore, but like ESL Manila was like awesome, and that was like there was the Manila Major and then ESL Manila, or ESL Manila then the Manila Major, but like they're still fucking hype. I need to cough.
I can testify that ESL New York was not a great time.
What'd you say?
I can testify that ESL New York was not a great time.
Man, really Scrunk loved it.
Yeah, if it's any indication, well, I mean, we like that was one of the first things that we did as press. One of the first events that we attended, or maybe like the second. And you could tell just kind of behind the scenes, like there was a lot going on that was super stressful for a lot of people. It was not exactly running very smoothly. Anyway.
Well, yeah, I mean it's not great. I mean China's planning another DAC, right? So, or at least DAC scale tournament, so it can't be all bad for third-party tournaments.
Somebody sent me the link to the Dota concert we got for that last DAC. Do you remember that?
Oh my god!
I want to see it. I want to see the Dota concert. I never got to see it, so somebody send me the link.
Yeah, so someone do that. Someone spend your time doing that.
Find that for me, please. Oh, it's out there and it's bad. I need to see it. I need to know how bad it is. Okay, Proud.
Okay. I mean, instead of a Dota concert, they should just play like that Witch Doctor "Have Luck, Good Fun" song. Just like on repeat for like the entirety of a tournament through any game. I would love that. Anyway, I don't know. I think it's fine. I really like the major system because like now we actually have people like, oh man, we're preparing for like this tournament, and as long as they're bringing in other people to produce it, like Frankfurt was produced by ESL, right?
Yeah, Frankfurt was.
Mm-hmm. Shit. Yeah, and then this one was produced by PGL, so like the companies are still getting money and shit.
PGL, as far as I'm concerned, PGL puts on the best tournament. Everything that I saw with Boston looked good from a production standpoint.
Yeah, it was great.
Manila was
It was pretty
amazing.
rocky at the start. It
Um,
was really rocky at the start. At Boston, like a couple of the streams had like no sound or whatever. But I mean, they figured their shit out. Whatever. I like forgive them.
the Shanghai major, though, I mean that was the only
Manila. Oh yeah, the Shanghai Met was super
yeah,
shit,
that
and
was the
that
only like
ties into the Ruru drama.
awesome. Tell me about Ruru.
All
Tell me
right,
what's the Ruru.
all right. So Ruru is like the owner of LGD. She has been really good to some players, really shitty to others, like Sylar. She's basically like the most ruthless team owner, capitalist person ever.
Sylar was on eHome
And
at one point, right?
I,
Sylar was
yeah,
on,
I
yeah.
think he like left.
Oh,
Or he was
okay.
on there for a little bit, then he left. But yeah, so he was on LGD, and he wanted to join another team, but Ruru was just like, nope, you're on contract. Even though like the team, even though you're like off the team or whatever, like you're still on contract, so I'm not going to let you join another team, and I'm going to set your buyout cost ridiculously fucking high. So basically, just because she could limit her competition by holding Sylar out and not having him play against LGD, she was like, yeah, I'll pay you to not play Dota, and you're not going to be on a fucking team because I'm not going to release you. Which is like fair from a business standpoint. I just fucking hate it.
Yeah,
It
that I mean,
sucks. That's scummy as shit.
it's why you need. It's why we need a players league. You know, it's why we need a players
Hey, there is
association
one, Ace. They have one, and it supports. I mean, it like
in
I don't
China.
exactly remember all the drama around it. Yeah, dude, Ace, ACE, Association of Chinese E-Players. That's not what it stands for.
Wow, the Dota 2 Ace
But yeah,
Alliance.
yeah, I mean, they do have an organization, but it essentially just it's like FIFA.
Wow,
It
since
really
August
just
2014.
succeeds. Yep, but it really just succeeds in like giving owners more control over their players and stuff. I don't know. It's kind of questionable, but it does perform some aspects. It's a decently fucked up organization from everything I've heard. But then again, I'm no KBBQ. So yeah, so she had a lot of drama come up around there. I think that she was the person who really helped out Black a lot when he was in China, which is really cool to her credit. I think she organized LGD International when that was a thing around like between TI2 and TI3. So she has done some cool things, but also like she fucking dicked over Sila hard. But now like the real kind of hammer in the coffin or nail in the coffin. Why would you put a hammer in a coffin? That wouldn't work at all. The
Well,
real
no.
nail. I guess if
You
wanted
need
to
hammers for
destroy it-
nails.
Yeah, well, but you wouldn't need it in the coffin.
Yeah, but you need it to
Unless
put
you're like
the
breaking
nail
the
in
coffin, like
the
the
coffin.
hammer would need to go in the coffin. At
You
some
wouldn't
point.
even be putting nails in my coffin if you didn't have a hammer. That's all I'm saying.
I just have really strong hands and just punch them.
Okay, fair enough.
Bloody knuckle.
You win
coffin
this time.
And anyway, but yeah, so the most recent, it's fucking crazy. All right, so there's like they had this key basically, like a fucking hash key, to access basically like all information in Dota, give people items, move items around. I don't think they could like create items, but they could like move them. They could access scrim data, like if you could go to like someone's profile, and you know how like if you play a bunch of bot matches or whatever, it shows up in your recent games. But if you look at your friend and they're playing bot matches,
Yeah.
or just like custom games or custom lobbies or whatever,
Yeah.
you won't see their custom lobbies. Yeah, so if you're playing a scrim doing that, she through a key that she got through Perfect World, who her ex-husband was like a CEO or CFO or something like that at. So she had this key, and she was basically, there's no like confirmed, like there's no way to know for certain, but she was able to see other people's scrim data, so she may have like use other people's scrim data to help out LGD. Not that it worked, because LGD hasn't been doing well.
How do we know that occurred, or how do we suspect that occurred? I mean, like what?
I was just looking into it earlier. There's some dude who was a worker at Perfect World who confirmed that it like was stolen, and had like a screenshotted like Ice Frog response, like, okay, like thank you for this information. Yeah, yeah, it's like some pretty fucking wild shit, man.
Yeah, that's crazy. If that's
Okay,
going
yeah.
on.
Here's the thing that was confirmed. Okay, so she also owned VP Game. Oh no, LGD. Okay, so she owns LGD, and LGD is the owner of the Chinese betting site VP Game. So in addition to them being able to get the scrim data or whatever, they were able to move items like between Steam users, and that's how certain betting sites like Dota Max and some other website they got basically banned by Valve because I think what they did is they just like moved items around and made it look like those sites were like scamming other people when in actuality they weren't. So those sites got banned. So like instead of like just giving themselves like a bunch of expensive Dota items, they just made their competition look like scams, and then they got banned. And now
Yeah.
it's just VP game. Oh yeah, she was also with the Shanghai Major. So the reason that sucked is that Key TV had no idea what the fuck they were doing. They'd never done a production of that scale, and they were able to get the contract because Ruru was able to get them the contract.
Wow.
I think she has some relation to one of the owners of Key TV. So via corruption, she was like, "Yo, give them this contract. It'll be great," and then it wasn't.
Wow. That's yeah. That's nuts. If that's all true, we can't do anything about it. That's the shittiest thing.
As much as I can tell, like I think I'm pretty sure this all like there's just been so much shit around her. If you were to try to justify any of this, like justify it all, that would be like some fucking intense ass shit. But there's been a lot of really questionable stuff going on behind Ruru and LGD. So not a huge fan of that organization anymore. Especially, I mean, the Key TV thing is like, that's like known, like that's just how it happened. But like getting the Steam fucking the API key is incredible. And the like shutting or whether or not she was successful or whether or not it was all her, whatever. Obviously, it can't all just be one person doing all this shit. But if you are like shutting down other betting sites or whatever, I mean, regardless of your opinions of betting sites, like destroying your competition through like actual fucking sabotage is some pretty fucking ruthless shit. So so that's the Ruru drama for you.
Damn. Yeah. What? Why did you tell me about it? What can I do? What can any of us do?
Nothing, man.
Just sit back and watch it.
Free America.
Yeah, corruption free. That's America's
Yep.
motto. It says it on the money, so it has to be true.
Yep. Anyway.
Well, that's sad. Yeah, that's sad to hear.
Anyway, yep.
All right. Well, you want to play a game before we close it out?
Yeah.
A little bit of trivia.
Yeah.
All right. So, match fixing happens everywhere. Traditional sports, esports, Dota 2 even.
Yep.
But the Korean Esports Association started to take a pretty serious look into players' lives, to the player exploitation issues, if you will, for all Korean esports players after the attempted suicide of a professional esports player for what esport? Your options are StarCraft 2, League of Legends, or Guild Wars 2.
Oh, Guild Wars.
It was not Guild Wars. No.
Fuck.
It was Dota's arch nemesis, League of Legends.
Okay, I should have known. I said it was Guild Wars because I was like, why the fuck is Guild Wars on that list?
Yes, an investigation by the Korean Esports Association, KESPA, corroborated allegations of a match-fixing scheme to which a top League of Legends player confessed before attempting suicide. Testimony KESPA took from teammates of player Cheonmin Ki support his claim that their team's manager intended to place heavy bets against their League of Legends matches once they had acquired a strong reputation, and then direct them to throw those matches. This was back in March of 2014. And since they have, Riot has overhauled how they at least handle player payouts in Korea. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, Korea has a huge history of hating match fixing or whatever. Like back in Brood War, man, anyone who follows Brood War knows the name Savior with fucking infamy. Like that dude, like single-handedly crippled, if not killed, Brood War in Korea from where it was. Like he was the best StarCraft Brood War player of all time. Fucking one of the first real bourgeois to really just shit on that game and make it his bitch. Savior, the Korean player, eventually just decided to like start throwing games and solve the match fixing scandal, and to have like the fucking starlet of all of your game be in the biggest match fixing scandal in all of esports history is like just like esports tries so hard to gain legitimacy, and then you just hear that people are like just like throwing games for like whatever money they can get. It just immediately like robs it of all notoriety. So that's a very serious issue. If you're anyone who followed Brood War back in the day, you know how big a deal this is. And yeah, man, I like watched some documentary on the Savior incident, and like, man, it was so like there's like this documentary was like incredible. Like the opening shot is just like these three dudes in like a conference room, just like looking all sullen and shit. And, like every so often they'd say like one thing, you could just see them like seething with anger. They're just like, we tried so hard for this. We worked so hard to get it to where we are now, and now it's gone. And it's just like, Jesus, dude, I'm so sorry. But yeah, man, match fixing is a huge fucking deal. Don't let that shit slide.
I mean, there were several match fixing complaints or rumors, even just last year in Dota.
Or like 3 days ago.
3 days ago? Really? What was the most recent?
There was some team, I forget who it was, but there was some team that was like deeply accused of match fixing. Oh no, it was eHome. It wasn't match fixing so much as they just weren't even playing their own matches.
Was it
Like other people were
eWolves?
playing their account. I think it was eHome.
Huh. Wow. Yeah. It's just even a quick like search of match fixing Dota 2 pulls up a ton of different ones. eWolves.
Yeah.
I remember that from. Oh, that
Man,
was last year.
Smash Mi Pastor? He's gone.
Wow.
That's like that's a big like South American Dota took a huge fucking hit the second Smash was caught up in match fixing. Like, oh my god, it's honestly such a fucking tragedy. I mean, I know like people do it. Like money is hard to come by when you're trying to play video games professionally. Like I feel for you, but like Smash, dude, like you had a responsibility.
Yeah, I knew nothing. I see what you're talking about. I didn't realize. I didn't know the history behind Smash at all. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Ineligible after match fixing. Accused of match fixing a month ago after their play was deemed suspicious. The match in question was a third place decider match with Infamous, a fellow Peruvian team in the Pro Dota Cup at the time. Yeah.
Entirely innocent game to match fix on. Like, it didn't matter for anything. Might as well just throw it and make a bunch of money. Whoops, you can't fucking play Dota anymore.
That sucks. But I'm with you. Like yet again, like it points to even just the issues that you're talking about with the Ruru drama. Like players, and it's what do they do? You know what I mean? Like what's your end game? How do you fight back whenever you're not making a decent chunk of change, or the companies are pulling too much money, or or just shit, you want to make a little more money. I mean, some of those cases are greed. Certainly, some of those guys are doing it because they want to make just a little bit extra. But it seems like more often than not, the shitty story is, well, we're barely scraping by, and we really want to do this for a living. And if we threw this one match, we were set.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's all that's left to do is to seize the means of production. I don't know.
Yes. What are you speak? You speak of revolution, comrade Proud.
Anyway, so there's more stuff that I wanted to cover, but I think if I did too much, we would literally have nothing for next week if nothing crazy happens. So I'll save Kurt some opinionated shit for next week.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, should we plug some stuff?
I don't care. It's your job.
Find us at defenseofthepatients.com, on Twitter at .p_show, on YouTube, youtube.com/.ptv1, twitch.tv/.ptv. No one on the Twitch. No one needed. Let's see. Find us on, you can find us on Facebook, of course, patreon.com/Defense of the Patients. You can follow us there, or actually support us there, and even have someone like Proud, the only 5K player in .p. You could have that one 5K player do a replay analysis for you if you want to go donate there. Let's see. Find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, all your favorite podcast apps. Be sure to leave us a review. It really helps us. And give us feedback on the first .pro show. Let us know what you'd like us to focus on, cover, all that kind of stuff, right? We like feedback.
Yeah, if you wanted me to make any specific animal noises, I'm open to those requests. Also, I offer coaching at $20 an hour. You can email anyone really, and hopefully it'll find its way to me. Message me on Discord,
email
Twitter.
your mom, she'll forward it along to Proud.
Yeah, she knows.
She knows. Of course she does. Don't kid yourself. She knows.
Yeah. Or just, or just go to a mountaintop and scream, and I'll probably figure it out.
Yeah.
I have eyes everywhere.
Your proud sense will start tingling.
It's always tingling, dude.
All right, this is your show. You call it. You close it. You kill it.
Yeah, I feel like I had something else I wanted to say. We'll just wait here a minute until I remember.
Okay. Is this what you and Roland do on Friday? Just kind of dance around?
Dude. No, we're just serious all the time.
Yeah. It sounds like a real serious show. That's what I hear.
All right, well, oh yeah, now I remember. Yeah, so I put out my, if you want to know how I've been playing the Lonely Druid, there's a video up on our YouTube, .ptv1, and it's 20 minutes of me telling you about Lone Druid, and then in the description I have just the exact item build and skill build written out for you, so if you don't want to listen to my voice, it'll be right there. But I go through it and I explain the idea behind every individual item and a little bit about the playstyle. So yeah, watch that, and then you too will be an 83% win rate Lone Druid player.
God damn, is that really where you're at?
Just for this patch.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I've lost one game, and it was the Theorycraft Thursday game where like I had like a 2-13 anti-mage, and everyone was like fucking 4.1k and awful.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry they have to play with all those 4K scrubs.
One fucking loss.
That's what's going to happen when you party with Ursi. When you party with somebody who's too low of MMR. Yeah,
His party's higher than mine, honestly. But the patch in 7.0, not 7.01, I think I have 100% win rate. So across all the games, I think I'm like 9-1 or something playing this Lonely Druid shit.
Damn.
It's dope.
All right, time to learn some Lone Druid.
Yep.
All right.
It's so hard. I love it. All right, are we done?
Well, we're done.
All right, this has been the .P Pro Show, keeping you and the .P in the know. Don't tell me that you like the snow, because I'll be honest, I didn't want to go there.